Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name's Luke and this is Coach Fulton. What we're covering today is what Ronnie Coleman taught me. I recently had the opportunity to go to a seminar and Q&A/meet and greet with Ronnie Coleman, and at first I was just kind of showing up and showing out as a fan, but honestly when I actually left the event, it changed a lot of the ways that I think about lifting. First and foremost, I think this might be something that's just specific to me, but it is clearing up misconceptions. I used to kind of have an idea about Ronnie Coleman and his way of training and kind of what he believed, just based on what I've seen in kind of like memes and a lot of kind of like snippets here and there on YouTube. And I was actually quite surprised, having met him in person and spoke to him. In my head, I had kind of seen the, lightweight baby. I'd seen him lift 800 for 2 on squat. I had seen him, rep thousands of pounds on the leg press. I'd seen him deadlift heavy. I kind of thought that he was in the kind of school of lower volume, HIIT kind of style training, kind of like Dorian Yates, Mike Mensah. I knew it wasn't to like that degree, but I thought he was quite like a low volume bro, and I was surprised when I actually heard about his specific training split. The first thing that stood out to me was that he cleared up that a lot of his feats in the gym were just that, they were feats. He said that anything below 10 reps that he done was just a bit of fun. So that didn't really encompass his regular part of training. That was him just kind of messing about, which I think makes it all the more impressive, what he's actually done and what he's accomplished and some of the weights that he's lifted, considering he's not really trained in that way for that. He's not trained for strength, he's not trained for any kind of power output, he's not trained low volume. All those times that he did stuff like that was just him deciding, fuck it, let's try it. When the discussion of Ronnie Coleman's training came up, I was actually struck by the fact that it seemed to be quite moderate volume. Volume for a bodybuilder, at least. I think for the average Joe it'd still be quite high. But he trained 6 days a week, no more than 1 hour a day, weight training. And he never done more than 3 sets on any given exercise. And his split kind of went something like chest and triceps, back and biceps, legs, and then a separate shoulder day. Not necessarily in that order, but essentially what would happen is that across an 8-day period, he would train every muscle group twice. This is still a lot of work, but if you actually compare it to a lot of his peers and contemporaries, it's fairly moderate volume. A lot of these guys were doing, 5 sets of 10, 10 sets of 10. If you look at something like the guys back in the golden age of bodybuilding, they were all training twice a day sometimes, spending about 4 hours a day in the gym, whereas for comparison, Ronnie Coleman only ever spent 1. A major lesson to take away from that is that more isn't always better. Now, I'm not going to obviously criticise any of the guys that did do the 4 hours a day training. Like, they are, the likes of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm the likes of me. So, the things that they've achieved, it's obviously worked for them. But also, Ronnie has matched Arnold in the amount of Olympias that he has won. And he did it with about 1/4 of the volume. So you've got to think that, was all those extra sessions, all that time spent, necessary? And I think especially when it comes to natural guys, I think that's even more so. I think that something that I drew from what Ronnie Coleman talked about his training is effort. Just effort alone. It's not really about how much time you spend, it's about how hard you work in that given window. And he only trained 6 hours a week, and I know that's quite a lot for some people, but I also know so many, like absolute pencil neck gym bros, like some good friends of mine even, that train as much as that. And it must be that, like, obviously they don't get anywhere near the results because they don't get the genetics, they don't get the drugs, whatever, they don't get the protein. They'll get their nutrition on point, they don't live it. But I think one of the big things is effort. It's you know, you get people that do all these really high volume approaches and they want to do everything except try hard. And I think Ronnie Coleman really espoused just giving it his all when it came to his training. I think that is the takeaway on that part for kind of the average Joe. And it kind of takes us on to our next segment, effort. Ronnie Coleman put effort into everything he did, and that was apparent straight away from a lot of his stories in the Q&A and from the time that we got to talk together. Effort seemed to be the top of everything, and kind of having that mindset to put 100% into everything you do. You know, Ronnie Coleman told a lot of stories, and something that I kind of really took away from it was that he woke up every day to do a grueling gym session, and then he went and he worked a really hard job as a police officer, and he spent, you know, from dusk till dawn constantly hard at work. And I think a lot of people would go, man, I have to go to the gym, man, I have to go to my job, I have to do this, and they would kind of get burnt out and bogged down in that kind of hard way of life. But from everything about his attitude surrounding both his work and his gym career, he loved it. He espoused that he loved every second of it. He said that he got to wake up every day and he got to train. He didn't have to train, he got to train. And then he got to work what he calls the best job in the world. And you know, what I've heard a lot of people call a thankless job. You know, a job that's hard, a job that there's not a lot of kind of accolade for. But he took away that he got to work there, he got to go to the gym. If you take that in everything you do, you know, you can be absolutely thrilled to go to the gym and hit legs because you get to hit legs. There's some people out there that can't hit legs. His whole day doing these two things, his job and his training, and he talks about it fondly. If you give all to everything you do, be that in the gym or in your life, you're kind of guaranteed success. That repeated effort over time is going to add up. Next time that you're in the gym, I don't want you to say, oh man, I have to train legs, I have to do squats, I have to do Bulgarian split squats. You really have to go, I'm young, I'm fit, and I'm able to do this, so I get to train legs today. And I think if you do that and you tell yourself that every day for the next couple of months, you'll see some major progress and some major changes. You need to love the process if you want to see any success. During the Q&A, Ronnie Coleman was asked a lot of questions that kind of ran along the lines of, do you wish you could have went up against X? Or who was your biggest competition? Or who were you most threatened by? Who do you think the greatest bodybuilder was? And every one of these questions led back to himself. In his head, he was his only competitor. And I think when you kind of take that into your own head and something that you can take forward, you know, be that even if you're not competing in bodybuilding, if you're not competing in powerlifting, if you're just a guy that goes to the gym for fun, that idea of centering it around yourself, you know, something that he said was that he was his biggest competitor. The only person that he wanted to go up against was the man in the mirror. And I think that mindset stopped him from ever getting complacent. He wasn't thinking, oh, I'll phone it in this year because I've definitely got X, Y, and Z beat. He just absolutely tried his best to beat the condition he came in last time. He was always looking to be better. And I think if you take that mindset on of you've only got yourself to beat, you will be 100% better off. You don't need to compare yourself to the latest fake natty on Instagram. You don't need to compare yourself to the little guy that's curling 10-pound dumbbells in the corner and it's his first day in the gym. Compare yourself to you and you'll get the best results. Regrets and resilience. Ronnie has had a lot of trouble with his body in recent years. He's had multiple back surgeries and he struggles to walk, mostly keeping in a wheelchair. When we were there. But whenever you ask about what his biggest regret was, it wouldn't be breaking his back or herniating multiple discs or the general punishment that he's put his body through from his training. His only regret across the board was that he didn't lift heavier. When he was asked about who he wished he could have faced, if he wished he could have done X, Y or Z, his answer was always no. He said that he's glad he got to face the people he got to face. He was grateful for everything to work out the way it did. He was put here at the time he was for a reason, to be the person that he was and is. You know, there is no regret, there is no wishing things to be different. He seemed to take everything on as what kind of needed to happen. You know, he's glad he's got to go up against everyone that he's ever faced in bodybuilding and all the adversities that he's got to face. And if asked if he would do it all over again, the only thing he said he would change is that rather than squat 800 pound, he would squat 850. So go forth, take the wisdom, you know, clear up those misconceptions about training, get into moderate volume. When you get in the gym, get in and make sure you get out. Don't mess about adding set after set after set. Just try your absolute hardest. Only ever compete against yourself. You're the person to beat, and give 100% to this process.